Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Search with Polly and Jane. And this week, our special guest star is Sarah Dupont. But I'm going to pass over to Polly to say hello first.
Hello, everyone. It seems like ages because obviously we were on the road last week, weren't we? Very successful weekend. So I'm sorry if you missed us. We were here in spirit and waving at you from the A34 at the time. And so, yeah, really love to see you all again this week. And yes, over to the lovely Sarah Dupont, our lovely glamorous assistant this evening.
Hi, anyone who doesn't know me. As Polly and Jane have said, my name's Sarah Dupont. I'm based in Southsea in Hampshire. So this is my therapy room in the background. So if anyone's local, they can come and see me in person, or I work remotely too. And I've been invited tonight to talk about past life regression, which is one of the therapies that I offer. It was part of my hypnotherapy training, nearly 30 years. And although the hypnotherapy training was over 3 years, going up one weekend a month, it was the only thing that we ever did as a paperwork exercise. Everything we practiced on each other an awful lot. And I will forever be grateful for hypnotherapy. It definitely made me a very different person to the person I am now. And past life regression, at the time when it was mentioned, I thought, what is that? And didn't know how I felt about that. My beliefs have certainly changed over the 30 years. You wouldn't have seen me sat in a room with angels and fairies and unicorns on the wall. But I was very grateful to a friend of mine because the first week after the training, I went to see him, said I'd done that, and he was like, come on then, you're going to regress me. So I did one straight away. And that one I did slightly differently to how I work now. I took him back through some times in his current lifetime. And he went back and he said, I'm on my bike and I'm going down the driveway and they're going to crash into the garage. Yay! All the enthusiasm of a young boy just having been given a bike. And then he said, he said afterwards that he thinks maybe he'd just been born because he was aware of being in some kind of plastic crib. So then with his past life connection, he went back and he was a boy in Victorian times and he was in a garden with a girl and he was telling me a little bit about his life, and then he kissed the girl and I didn't quite know what to ask. So I said, was it nice? And he said, no, she smelt of wheat, which I guess in Victorian times, probably everybody smelt of wheat. So I was really grateful for him asking me to do a regression straight away. So, of course, being my first one, that's always stuck in my mind. My second one wasn't a very long time after I'd been offering therapies. And this chap came in and he had his arms crossed and he said, I don't know if I believe in this. And of course, at the time, I still thought, well, me neither, but obviously didn't say that. I was like, well, let's just see what happens. And he was a scullery maid in a large household. And so he was telling me about his life and his living conditions, living in the attic. And then he wasn't with it for a very long time. And then he just brought himself back to the room and said, I was a girl. So the fact that there had been a past life was one thing, but the fact he'd been female, that was just a little bit too far. So it's nice to be able to give that example as well, because it goes to show that the person also is completely still in control, as you are with hypnotherapy as well. So it's not a handing over of control at all. You're just being guided. So it's a nice example to use, and also shows that sometimes we aren't necessarily the same sex as we are now. We could have, and we've probably done a bit of everything. We've probably been rich. We've probably been poor. We've probably been nice. We've probably been nasty.
I think I've always been poor, Sarah. I think I've always been poor.
Yeah.
No one broke that negative.
Why change a habit of many lifetimes, AJ? You may as well just stay poor now.
I just don't know. I just don't keep learning this lesson. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're rich in love. That's all that matters, isn't it?
I'm abundance in love.
So Jane,
Absolutely.
not Jane, sorry, Sarah. So Sarah, why might people come to you? Why do they get attracted to past life regression?
So sometimes it's purely curiosity. Sometimes it's because they feel that there's something that's always been there that they've got no explanation for. So sometimes that can be a phobia, which will be connected to how somebody passed before or had experienced before. So sometimes people come because they've met somebody and they just feel that they've always known them, even though they are just meeting for the first time. Or sometimes people have been to a place and it felt like home immediately. Sometimes it is just a curiosity, or sometimes it is because of a reason that has drawn them. And sometimes past life regression can just be that was interesting experience, but also it can be used to release fears, phobias. And I've had a few people who've had physical pain disappearing as well after a memory has come forward.
Interesting. Maybe you should get that, Jane.
Actually, but to be honest, Polly, in our spirit release, we do, when we do the past lives, we do find that actually can adjust people, not only their mental well-being, but physically. But from the hypnotherapy side, I did actually go to a hypnotherapist, first time for everything, and I did it. A lady called Pippa, I know her as Philippa, who I met years back when we were both working in the tropic world. I mean, obviously we both still are in the tropic world, but we've moved on to other things. And my trauma of my leg, breaking my legs nearly, 6 years ago nearly, really had set me back. And I knew it was setting me back. And then I had to have counselling at work with other stuff, and they suggested that I had PTSD, yeah.
PTSD.
And when I thought about it, I thought, you know what, maybe it's time to find out why breaking the leg set off such a massive trauma with me, because it really did affect my mental health. I was really not coping well with things. I mean, I'm quite independent, so I knew that it was more about losing my independence that was probably frustrating, but it was really affecting me. And Polly had been trying to get me to trance for ages. She kept telling me I was going to trance, and I kept telling her I'm not going to trance. It's never happening. And she had got me somehow, I still don't know, I think she put blue lotus in my tea or something. I started doing her trance group, and I happened to be going to see Pippa around the time I'd started it. And Pippa said I tranced in the chair, not in a bad way, but I must have been so relaxed. I mean, it is about who you feel comfortable with. I knew her, I felt familiar with her, I was quite happy to go to her. But I think where I drove over to the place she was living at the time, which was Leon Solent, so a bit of a trek in the winter from Portsmouth. But I went over there and I got in the chair and I thought, I'll give anything a go. And the next thing I know, I'm seeing all these different figures. And when I came back, she just was staring at me and I went, what? What happened? And she said, I don't know where you went, but I mean, I must have done something that she was telling me. But she said, you went so quickly, and she actually sees something hovering around me while I was under. So I laughed. I went, have I done it wrong? Or have you done it wrong? Or should I ask for my money back? But I think with the knowledge of just starting to try, had actually relaxed me enough to take the hypnotherapy a little bit more, because I am quite, in my earlier days, I was quite cynical with a lot of this spiritual and holistic work. So, I've had to really eat my words and, get on with it. But I think it really did help me be relaxed. And no, I didn't come out totally cured, but I did come out of I went twice, I think, in the end. She said it was pointless going anymore, because if I was going to trance, I might as well go back to Polly's group. I did actually come out of a better mindset. I realised that only my leg trauma, there was a lot back in my childhood. It was a lot to do with my childhood and things that had happened to me. The leg, it was nothing to do with breaking a leg then. It was just the leg had brought back my childhood. And all I had to do was learn to manage it and learn to let go of it, I suppose. So it did work. So I can honestly say, for pain, although I was in pain, it was more about what mentally it was doing to me, which was probably escalating my pain.
It is really interesting, isn't it, about mindset and everything as well.
Yeah.
But I've got a question for you, Sarah, right? So obviously, you've talked about some of the instances and why people might have it and what your first couple of experiences like actually doing this were. Have you ever had anybody that you have taken into a trance-like state for this work, so for your past life regression? Have any of them ever been on another planet?
Yes. And so the first person who had was somebody who, it was before 2012, and the the being that he connected to and was talking about, the being's name was Cricus, and he was talking about how he would travel in a craft that was organic in nature, and he was able to also leave his body there and travel off other places. But his role, his job as such, was to go to different planets and collect samples, like soil samples. And he gave lots of information kind of about humanity, and it was a complete fascinating experience. I hadn't considered that somebody may have had an extraterrestrial experience before, or life before. So say this was some time ago now, and it felt a little bit different to the general past life regressions. And I thought it may have been just because it was an extraterrestrial lifetime he was connecting into. But afterwards he said to me, oh, that was really weird. I don't know where all that came from. It was like when years ago I used to be a platform medium. And that kind of made sense. So I don't know whether it was actually a physical lifetime that he had experienced, or he was tapping in to that. My feeling is probably a bit of both. I have had, similar to you, Jane, I have had people who've come for past life regression that afterwards have then their guides have come forward and spoken through them. These are people that were used to working with their guides already. I mean, both were absolutely fascinating, and the one of the people came a few times for me to facilitate and hold the space for that. And the other one, the lady, it was really funny. The guide was talking about her and taking the mickey out of her. And they obviously had a very good relationship, a good rapport. But he was taking the mickey out of the fact that she'd put her keys down on the table when she'd come into the hallway, and then spent a week or two looking for them. And he was saying that when she put them down, she'd slipped into a different dimension. And that was why she couldn't see the keys until she'd connected back into that frequency again, and there they were.
Wow. That is
very
quite interesting because Pippa at the time was studying goddesses. She was moving her spiritual work towards like goddess and Kundalini. I can never say it, Kundalini yoga.
Kundalini.
And she said that she thought the goddess Kali around me. And ironically, in trance, I don't know if it was before or the following week, because it's going back some time now, the group had seen, and when I was a student, I was in Polly's group, I wasn't teaching then, but the group had seen me, do you remember Polly, looking like they called it the bone lady?
Yeah.
And that I looked like my face had gone into a skeletal, and I looked I looked scary, but they weren't scared, if that made sense. And I laughed because she is the goddess of death.
Yeah.
But in a positive way. It's no different than tarot, the death card in tarot. Sometimes it's about letting go and moving forward. And actually, if you look up the goddess Kali, she comes to give you strength, especially women. She comes to give women strength in their times of need, in their times of having to not man up because we're women, but to soldier on and go on and move forward with anything that's challenging you or in your way. So it did make perfect sense that it was her. I think she hung around for a few sessions, didn't she, in trance? She was often popping out in trance. But yeah. My actual guide made an appearance.
Not in a communicative way. No, it was more of a, you just looked, I mean, when we looked at her, she looked like some sort of witch doctor with a bone through her nose. It was like that sort of...
They could see bones around my neck, and obviously that is what she was.
Yeah. How she's depicted
when I went to India last January, I really wanted to go into her temple, and the queue for her temple was absolutely phenomenal. You couldn't get near it. So I just thought, do you know what? I don't need to go in her temple. She'll come and see me if she needs to see me.
Use your temple, Jane.
My temple and bring Harry forward. But I mean, like I said, I've only had hypnotherapy. Polly, have you had hypnotherapy?
I've had hypnotherapy with the lovely Sarah Dupont.
So there's no disrespect to you, Sarah. Pippa had offered it to me and I said I'd do it. Funny enough, I have been talking to Polly about hypnotherapy for St. House, and I may well be knocking your door very soon. But what about past life regression then, Polly? I've done that as well in a group session. I've never done it one-to-one.
I've not had it one-to-one. It would be something that I'd like to do. And I would go to Sarah for it, because same as you, I need somebody that I trust. You know, and I'll tell you why, because there was a hypnotherapist I went to once who started saying very strange things, and I would not recommend this person. I don't know if they still do it, but they were very strange and started saying that I had like attachments to stuck to me because I do trance mediumship. I was like, really? You don't know anything, do you? Anyway, so that one I came away from. Even one of my children have had back in the day had hypnotherapy with the lovely Sarah. I don't know if you remember that, Sarah.
Yes, that was a long time ago, wasn't
A
it?
long time ago in your house in Petersfield. And it worked. But yeah, I'd love to have a regression. But the other person I was just talking about that I wouldn't go to again, I went to a group session with this person, right? And it was, to be honest, it was horrific because all the people there were nice, in the group, and they were all sitting around in a circle. But sadly, the lady next to me didn't go into a trance. She fell asleep, and the snoring coming from her was absolutely horrific. I mean, it made my other half look like nothing. You know what I mean? It was like, but unfortunately, the person carried on talking, and you can't concentrate when you've got somebody snoring in your ear, and nobody got anything and nobody went anywhere because they were all very much distracted by this snoring.
Well,
which
that's
is
good for the
quite
person
unfortunate.
that was snoring, though, because that shows they've
They
gone
had a
off.
good sleep.
They've gone off somewhere. Because I see a lot of people complain about people doing that in sound baths, and I suppose that is the downside of going to a group session of something that's going to relax you. I mean, I've heard people have a little snort in a meditation.
I guess it's like farting in yoga. It's just part of it,
So,
isn't it?
if it's not because someone's that tired or bored they've gone to sleep. I personally think
No. I think this
they've gone
lady
in.
actually had sleep apnea. I think there was actually something medically wrong because she went out very quick and it was a definite sleep zone. It was definitely not in any sort of trance. But I mean, I would personally like to do a one-to-one, because then you haven't got any distractions and you know that experience is your experience. And so I would be certainly interested in it. I feel like it would be something that would be fascinating. It's like a couple of things on my tick list. One is having that done. Another one, randomly, is to do what's it called? Like, when you get your DNA done to see what you are. Because everyone keeps thinking I'm either Polish. When I go to France, everyone speaks to me in France.
Well,
if I go on holiday,
confuse you, Polly, because my DNA changes all the time. So
yeah.
once I
And
was
then
Irish,
when I go anywhere else on holiday, everyone thinks I'm Polish. So I'd really
you won't
like to
be
know
able
what I am.
wait. You won't be able to wait for the long-term result, because every time it changes, it'll literally blow your mind away. We're doing our fair in April. If our fair goes well, our second fair goes well for the group, we'll have to get Sarah to come and do a talk on past life.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it?
What I find interesting with it, and this is what we were talking about. Obviously, one of the sections of our spirit release work is past lives. We look at their past lives. Sometimes they're good past lives, and we might mention them because they're relevant to what they're doing now. But sometimes they're not so good. We've all had them, and it's holding them back in this life, and that's why they're making some mistakes.
And sometimes they're very similar to what's going on.
It's almost like they're living a duplicate life. So
yeah,
it's really good. And the more and more we've done it in that section, there's a lot of sections to our release work, but in that section alone, we've both said how fascinated we've become engrossed. Whichever one of us is the medium, the facilitator is getting engrossed with the information that's coming out. And we said, I wonder if we could train to be like in past lives, not so much regression, but train, because we're obviously going down in trance doing this work, but like train in past lives. And everything we looked up, we went, no, probably not. We've either got to do past life regression, or we just carry on doing the work we're doing, and which is going into their past lives anyway. Mm-hmm. So we don't need a qualification in it. We've worked out spirit release is actually quite sufficient to do it. But we've even started going into their past lives while we are not in trance. We are literally delving in. Sometimes I'll ask Polly's guide a question as she's in trance in the past life, because I'm actually getting the information in my head, and it's vice versa. So it's really weird how much a past life does that root that's got into that soul and how it starts coming out. So we are fascinated with it, because we've had some amazing.
Well, I feel like I share some brain cells with Jane, because even in the car on the way back from Coventry, we're like talking about something, and then we both say the same word at the same time. We both got the same thought at the same time. It's like, because we're so connected in lots of things that we do, even though we work separately, we also do quite a few things together. And I feel like you just sort of start morphing into them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if we're spending more time, because normally people call us the Lauren Hardy or Albert and Costello, we've been called, haven't we? Last week we got called, and I don't know if I told you, Polly, last week we got called the two Ronnies. No, we didn't.
Yes, you did tell me.
We got called the two Ronnies, and then we got called Eric and Ernie. I can only assume I'm Eric with the glasses. And I know it shouldn't be, and I know mediumship is serious, and obviously, but it is. We do make it light because that's the way we are. We don't want people being miserable, and we had some tough people come through from last week, didn't we? So, but people were coming up at the end going, "Oh my God, you two are so funny. You're so amazing. You totally different, but you work so well together. Your energies blend off so together. You've really enjoyed the evening." And then another one went, "Oh, you're just like Eric and Ernie." And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so next time we're in trance, it'd be Eric and Ernie going
Is it
down.
Eric and Ernie or Bert and Ernie? Which one are you talking about?
No, Eric and Ernie is the Morecambe and Wise.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking
No, we're not the Sesame Street, Polly, but they Morecambe and Wise. So you're the little Ernie, and I'm obviously Eric. I don't know about that, but anyway.
I've just thought of another question. Right, so this has happened to us in spirit release, right? As in the part that comes into past life trauma, etc. That we have even cleared karma that will stop or prevent like certain things going into their future life. Has that ever come up in your work?
Yes. Well, it's one of the things we do is we ask for anything that doesn't serve a person from any point in time to be released. So it could be vows of poverty, it could be pain, it could be so it just gives that opportunity for change to happen. So yes, that will obviously have a ripple effect into things going forwards. And I always say to people that whatever will come forward for the person that they connect to, the unconscious mind will keep a person safe absolutely unconditionally. So it wouldn't bring anything forwards that they weren't okay to look at. But because we're asking for anything that no longer serves them to be released, there may be stuff that's released that they may never consciously be aware of. That why and what it is that's been released. They may just feel different and never actually know that that's the point that it came from, that release. So yeah, absolutely. One lady I had, she had a recollection of, and she was a servant in a household, and she became pregnant by one of the sons from the household, and she told him in the stable, and he strangled her with a horsewhip. And when she first came in, she'd said to me, "I've got this feeling around my throat," she said, and that started when my first son was born, when I was pregnant with him. And she said, "I can't bear anything around my neck. I can't wear a scarf. I can't wear a high jumper." And she recognised the father of her boys in this lifetime as the man from before, from that previous lifetime. And she phoned me about a week later to say that feeling's gone. In their years, that feeling had gone. And although she remembered that, nothing is ever re-experienced in a traumatic way. So it's more of a observing and that's interesting. So
you're almost like third party to it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's an awareness that the things happened, but not re-traumatized. Also, as well, some people could be talking or at the point afterwards and they're crying and they'll say, "I have no idea why I'm crying." So they're not feeling sad in themselves in that instant. It's obviously that there's things that are releasing. So yeah.
So I'm guessing you have then, if you obviously on the training and you were working upon each other like we were when we did the spirit release work. So can you remember anything that you experienced from having your regression done?
Yeah, there was one that absolutely, well, there's a couple that completely made sense to me. One was, I've always said I'm bad with numbers and and spreadsheets. There's been times where I've almost had phobic responses to being made to do a spreadsheet. And I had a past life regression where I was in a large household. It wasn't a royal household, but it was a big court. And I was aware of myself with a velvet cap on with a feather in it. And there was a big ledger in front of me and I was writing with a quill. and I was responsible for keeping the court accounts, and people had been stealing. So although it wasn't my fault because it didn't all add up and there was money missing, I was the one who had the blame, and I was put to death because of that. And my wife and family, I'm not sure whether they were killed or they were kind of turfed out of the place as well. So, and that kind of like, oh, well, that makes sense. There's a friend of mine came down, wants to help me do a spreadsheet. And I just burst into tears when we sat to do it. So quite an extreme response to being doing a spreadsheet, but now I understand.
I've never done a spreadsheet.
Accountancy jobs then?
No.
And how are you with spreadsheets now, if we put one up on the screen?
Better. I wouldn't freak out about it. I wouldn't say it's my favourite thing to do, but I wouldn't cry at you.
But you've not got that. It is interesting though, isn't it? Because in one of my, when I had my past life looked at with our spirit release stuff, one of my many, I found out that my eldest son, who sometimes we have a very difficult relationship. We love each other, but we act like we don't. And obviously I looked after him when he was unwell, and we have this little bit of a clash of the titans. Turned out he was my father in a previous life. So in this life, where I'm the parent, even though he's a grown man, we clash, I think, because we have a parental divide, because one thinks he's still in charge of me, and he's obviously forgot he's picked that he's now my child, not the other way around. But it did make perfect sense why we were always clashing, because there was this like parental thing that was going on. But I've had some very strange past life things brought up, actually. A lot to do with spiritual stuff as well.
I've just had a little remember happened, right? Now, we have, you know Neshla as well, don't you? Yeah. So all three of us are friends with this lovely lady called Neshla, who is what is she exactly in the Rouhani world?
She is the founder elect, but actually I think they've changed that title. I actually had the pleasure of Neshla's company yesterday because she's in France. So she's the founder elect, so she's second in charge of the Rouhani. Yeah, because
fifth dimensional healing,
well, don't you?
And I think we've all done Rouhani, haven't we? Yeah, Rouhani, fifth dimensional healing. If anyone's interested, I'm also a teacher now.
She's a teacher now.
I will be on it at some point this year. Anyway, so I've just forgotten all about it, right? And I was just thinking about phobias just when you were talking about, and then it just popped into my head. I have actually sort of experienced like somebody doing, apart from spirit release, somebody looking into a past life. And it was when I went for Rouhani training with Neshla, and I'll never forget it because she wouldn't have known this at the time. I have one really large phobia. I've got other little phobias, but they're probably technical ones like yours, Sarah, like spreadsheets and anything to do with anything technical. But my biggest phobia is worms, right? And I absolutely hate them. I hate worms with such a passion that I can remember crossing the road so I didn't have to walk past a big worm. One shot out of the ground once when I was sitting in a picnic. That honestly traumatized me.
Just wondering how big this worm was that you had to cross the road.
Well, it's big enough, right? And it was wiggling. And even talking about it cringes me out to a massive, like talking about it now, it's like I can picture it in my head straight away. It's almost like a little PTSD thing, right? Anyway, she wouldn't have known this at the time. And I went for this train to learn Rouhani. And so there was about was there three of us or four? No, there was three. There was three students and Neshla. So when you get to the part where you're practicing on each other, and the other one was sort of watching at the time, other people were watching. And Neshla did my Rouhani. She was working on me so I could feel it and experience it. Anyway, she said she had this really, really vivid past life flash on, like mind, memory, sort of thing. And I was I can't remember if it was World War I or World War II, but one of them, right? And I was in the trenches. I was a soldier in the trenches. Now, this bit is really interesting, right? And literally she could see worms coming out, and I'm like freaking out because and then I got hit by an explosion which blasted my neck, right, and killed me. I can still remember it because it was like, what the hell? Anyway, and she said it was all over this side of my body, sort of around my shoulder and everything. Now, I suffer from a few different like autoimmune diseases, and vitiligo is one of them, right? So I have like patches of white on my skin, where there's no pigment. And it's just happened when I was around sort of 32-ish, just came from nowhere, started here. So if without makeup on, I've got like light patches there, but I've also got patches here, right? So, the way she explained it, and she was saying it's all down here and it's like around your neck, and that's what killed me. But the biggest things were that and the worms, right? And I was in the trenches. Well, I'm terrified of worms, which she wouldn't have known about, right? Like terrified of the horrible, vile things. I'm sorry, I know that they do good for the earth. I know they do, right? But I still
And
cannot
the
deal with
birds
them,
like them.
right? But all the spots on my neck of this white, if you look at a lot, I know things are different with every people, but a lot of people with vitiligo have like mirror image. So they might have like something on the face, something on the face, something on the neck, something on the neck, that sort of thing, something on their arm. And it sort of seems to mirror. Some people will get it only down one side, but the only places I have it is where she said. Isn't that weird?
But is
But
it?
it's like,
Is it weird? Because
but
obviously,
it's
again,
cool.
we all
That's weird.
work as psychics. Nesta works as a psychic. Sarah, you do your card of the day. I see it come up on
And she's a lovely
Facebook.
reader.
So we all work psychically. We all work spiritually. We're all healers. And I always say when I'm teaching Rahani that healing is a form of mediumship. You are healing with the power of those that are working through you. And you are, I mean, I get messages when I'm teaching. I try not to say it's when I'm teaching because I'm trying to teach, but you know, if I do a client, I get messages come through. It's weird because, like you said, she wouldn't have known that about you. But why do we always go, that's weird? When we
I
work
mean,
on
we
this
do
work,
this,
it
but
should be weird.
I think it was because it so resonated in that way. And she just kept saying, yeah, it's on your left side. It's on your left side. And I can still remember what she had on. That's how much
That's
I
how
can
much
remember
you're
about that day.
traumatised by worms, yeah. Well, moving
But
on, let's not put anyone off Rahani if they ever want to come to any of us, because
no,
Sarah,
because Rahani's lovely.
Sarah, are you a
And it didn't put me
practitioner
off. I
and
thought
a
it was great.
teacher? Are you a practitioner?
Sorry, say again?
A practitioner and a teacher?
No, just a practitioner.
Okay, so Sarah's not going to get anyone come to her other than clients, and we're teaching, so we don't want to put people off. Oh yeah, come to us. We're teaching Rahani. Also, I am an ambassador for Rahani, so we should be like saying lovely things about Rahani because
yeah, but it was good because it answered my questions about why. I mean, I've done Rahani for years. You've both done Rahani for years, and a lot of time it is. When I say is, I don't mean just healing, but a lot of it is a lovely healing modality.
it is a lovely healing modality,
and it really is. I mean, to me, just my opinion, but I've done Reiki and I don't do Reiki anymore because I prefer Rahani. You know, I love the energy of it, the softness, but the more powerful element of it, I love. But occasionally, in whatever sort of healing modality you do, if you are a psychic or a medium, you are going to sometimes get information that does need exposing. And to me, that fascinated me because I thought, oh my God, that makes total sense. And almost like it was a bit of an epiphany to me, like, because I went through a little bit of a time with the vitiligo because it does change you. And I've got some on my face there and there and there and there. As in, it makes you think, you know, is it going to carry on? Am I going to turn into Michael Jackson? You know what I mean? It's like you have these moments when you're sort of a little bit
would you?
traumatized by it. You know, to me, it was almost like an answer and not something, why on earth would that have come up? And to me, I found it very healing.
So getting back to hypnotherapy and regression then, Sarah, you've obviously trained in it. We trained in spirit release and obviously, like I said, cover past lives, but we don't do a hypnotherapy. And I always tell people when they ask me about hypnotherapy, don't just go to someone that says they can do it, because it isn't safe to just say, oh, I can do that. And just because you're a psychic and a medium doesn't mean you're a hypnotherapist. It is actually a complementary treatment. It is registered as one of those and it should be taken seriously. But do you think, as psychics and mediums, that we have an ability, though, to tune in to all different things in? And although we're not registered regressionists, we are clearly picking up something in a past life while we're in trance. Isn't it weird how we can sort of flip in and out and get information? And then, like we said, it got us thinking, shall we go and train in past lives? Realising that we couldn't really do that.
Yeah,
Really do it.
yeah, because you're doing it already.
Yeah.
You're tuning in anyway.
But hypnotherapy is serious, isn't it? I mean, funny enough, what's his name keeps popping up on my phone? Paul McKenna.
Mm-hmm.
we can name names on here. We won't get barred on YouTube when it goes out. He keeps popping up on my phone, and I'm like, what are you popping up on my phone for? Didn't really find him interesting. I remember someone giving me his book on how to lose weight. It clearly didn't work years ago, so I chucked it in the bin. But funny enough, I'd been to see Darren Brown, who also does mind stuff and all that.
Well, he's a mentalist more, isn't he?
He still hypnotised someone and took him back in time on stage, which was quite weird. But I thought then, is that because I've been somewhere and I posted it and then Paul McKenna's popping up my feed? But I remember going to, like Polly said, I went to another psychic. We were quite friendly at the time. And sometimes, remember Sarah, when I used to do the drop-in at my sister-in-law's well-being stuff, she used to come in there and work. And she did Reiki and I did Rahani. And I remember one day she said, should we do a healing swap? And I said, yeah, because we all like to do swaps, don't we? It's good for our energy to swap and give each other services. And as soon as she did me, I knew instantly she was not doing Reiki on me. Even though I've not trained in Reiki, I've never had Reiki, I knew it wasn't Reiki. And I sat up and went, what are you doing? She went, I got told you need regression. I went, I didn't ask for regression. We were doing shares. You were doing Reiki healing on me, and then I was going to do Rahani on you. She went, yeah, but I've been told you've got to have regression. I went, well, I don't want it, and got up. I said, don't do. Now, obviously, I'm quite savvy, and Polly will tell you, they take the mick out of me. I don't very rarely have healing myself unless it's somebody I really trust. And I know that sounds terrible as a teacher. I'm very precious with my energy, so I don't open myself up to a lot of people that way. And even in group, they all scared to touch me or kiss and cuddle me goodbye because they wonder what I'm going to do. Yeah, I always kiss and cuddle, but yeah, they were a bit. But I straight away knew I did not want that energy around me. I did not want that. And obviously, as a healer at the time and working psychically then, I'd obviously started to get a bit more savvy. But how dangerous is that if you were a client and you went to someone because she says she can do regression or hypnotherapy because she did some online course, which is what I found is what they were doing, and adding it to their CV? It is quite worrying, isn't it?
Absolutely. Obviously it's something that anybody can do. But yes, you've got to know what you're doing. You can't make somebody do something they don't want to do with hypnosis. So when I first qualified, it was so long ago, Paul McKenna was actually on the TV with his stage entertainer show, and mental health wasn't discussed in the way it is now. So anyone who phoned would usually start the conversation with, this may sound silly, but, because they thought it was just them that was experiencing anxiety. And of course, what everybody used to say was, oh, you're going to make me cluck like a chicken. So it was a standard response at the time.
Yeah, and that's not what it's for.
So no, not at all. Because we're obviously talking Yellow Pages days, that people used to find you. If I go networking now, I describe myself, I've been a hypnotherapist so long, it's the Yellow Pages day long. What I always used to do, if people weren't coming word of mouth, if they were ringing to, through the Yellow Pages, I always would have said to them, ring round, speak to a few people, go to the person you feel most comfortable going to. Because I don't want someone coming to me if we're not going to be the right fit, So people come because they're drawn to the person to work with. But as you say, not everybody would be discerning enough to go, oh no, stop, like you did. And I think nowadays people, because they can see you on your social media, you get a bit of a feel for, that's a person for me. And of course, hypnotherapy wise, things have changed an awful lot. So I used to have a separate leaflet for past life regression, again back in the leaflet days, past life regression and hypnotherapy, because it was kind of my assumption, and also assumptions of other people, wasn't just myself, that people wouldn't take you seriously as a hypnotherapist if you also did past life regression.
Yeah.
Even things like I would change out of my jeans before I saw a client, put trousers on rather than my jeans. And I know when I dental nursed for many, many years, and they were happy to have my hypnotherapy leaflets in the waiting area, but not if they had past life regression written on them. So whereas nowadays, and people have found me from all different sorts of ways. I've had people who were looking at something else on their browsers, and my website came up. I've had people go into coffee shops in Fareham and find my leaflet or my card on a table. I hadn't been there and put that in there, or people who'd overheard somebody in a supermarket queue. So I think you kind of end up going to the person that you're meant to go to. I had one lady choose me because she saw I had a load of salt lamps on my photo, because I still have a selling table from when I used to do mind, body and spirit fairs. So she was like, oh, she's got salt lamps, I'm going to her. Who'd have thought it?
Sometimes it's a little sign, isn't it?
Because, like you said, the Yellow Pages day back in the Yellow Pages day of a psychic medium, I never really see a medium as when I was a teenager, but I often in a teenage years seeked out a psychic. It was word of mouth. Someone would go, oh, I've been to this psychic, and everyone passed it around. When I first went back to one, which was Neshla, that's how I met Neshla, and because I was in a really bad headspace, I actually just froze and thought, I don't even know where to find one. And then someone said, just look online. I thought, what? Online? And it was her smile. It wasn't necessarily even a website that stuck out to me. Her smile, her face. I thought, she looks kind and I need a kind person. And that was it. And again, we all say sometimes things happen because they're meant to happen. It was definitely the right meeting at the right time, because she's been such a good support and mentor to me to get me on my own journey, because she recognised I wasn't doing what I should have been doing. So it was good that I did that. But when you say about changing into like, oh, you're a hypnotherapist here, you're a regressionist here, I was doing the same thing when I first started out. I was a holistic therapist. That's what I retrained in when I left when I was getting ready to leave the university. So I trained in aromatherapy, and I did reflexology and ear hoppy candle, and I was doing all these like nice, relaxing, and I learnt the healing because that can be complementary or spiritual. And then obviously people were asking for readings, but I was hiding the readings behind my holistic stuff. And my business name just had the name, and it was Holistic Therapies. I will put spiritual on it. And then I sort of put spiritual on it, but I was still hiding behind the name. And then it was the lovely Gemma that said to me a few years back, you need your name in front of it, Jane, so people still know you're a psychic medium. And I laughed and went, do you know, for years I was hiding that I was a psychic medium, because with my holistic stuff, people weren't taking me seriously if they knew I was also a reader. And then if I was working holistically, I'd wear my salon stuff. But if I was reading, I have to quickly, like Mr. Ben. And then when I started doing my injections, my therapy injections, I would wear my salon stuff. And although people say, well, you should be all clinical, as long as I've washed my hands and got gloves on, you can inject somebody with vitamins. Anyway, it goes into the arm or the buttocks, if anyone's interested. But yeah, and I was feeling like I was losing my identity because I was trying to be too many people. So the beauty of it is when you recognise who you are, whether it fits with people or not, you can't keep changing to please people. And it is so good that holistically and spiritually, these are starting to blend better. And
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Yeah.
A lot of people almost expect you to be spiritual if you're doing holistic therapies. And I know so many that do more than one thing. Predominantly, I do readings, mediumship and tarot card readings, but then I also have a lot of healing that I do. I have trance healing most out of anything, because people like my guide to come through and talk to them while they're whipping stuff out of them. But it goes through stages, and animal communication, healing and stuff like that. But I think everyone knows me in the fact of I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. In my head, apart from what I'm doing, there's no separation. I'm still going to, if I'm going to give you healing, you're very likely to get some sort of message out of that.
Yeah.
You're very likely to, if I'm doing trance healing, you're very likely to get Maya, my guide, coming out, literally tell you how to sort your life out and all flags out of you. No, I'm joking. But my guide is very kind but forthright, and they will tell you what you are and what you aren't doing, and they will tell you what needs to be done, and they will tell you where the fear came from, or they will tell you this. You know what I mean? I think nowadays, like you both said, though, there was separation, and now
there had to be for professionalism.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have got your holistic clients.
But I
Absolutely.
don't feel that there is really now. I think
I've still got a couple of clients healing where I stay as a healer and don't tell them it's actually a spiritual thing, and they believe it's a complementary thing. But for me, a couple of years back, I dropped the aromatherapy off my stuff because obviously my disability was starting to affect me. So I wasn't as able to do that. And I started looking at different things. And obviously our spirit release work's been really busy in the last 2 years anyway. I do psychic counselling, and the healing is important. So I suddenly thought, you know what, Jane, don't wear yourself out. I'm getting on a bit. I am getting on a bit. And also I had to look at my own disability and my own wellness. So I dropped aromatherapy. I dropped ear hoppy. I've sort of dropped reflexology. I only ever do it if someone really desperately needs one, because funny enough, there's not a lot of people doing that at the moment. I've dropped a lot of the physical stuff, but mainly because, rightly or wrongly, the spiritual stuff does seem to take off more. But it was also for me. So I don't have to worry so much now, because I'm not really fitting into that salon. I mean, aromatherapy, you would definitely wear your salon stuff because you'd be messy, but I don't have to do that no more, because it's more moved to the spiritual side, because that's just the way it's happened. And actually, one of the reasons we started these podcasts, apart from the fact we like to listen to ourselves, don't we, Polly? No, we don't. We really don't.
We like the sound of our own
To
voices.
get out and show how many different treatments there were, how many different types of different spiritual modalities there were. But also we do talk about serious topics as well, because we talk about our spiritual work and holistic work can work with serious topics. So we do throw a serious topic in, because there's always something upsetting people in the world lately. But it was also to get people on, start getting people on, and so people can start seeing there is lots of alternatives now. And I think with the way the world is going at the moment, we need more holistic and spiritual treatments. We need to be aware that they're there, because they're done in a much more sometimes softer, easier way than going to someone conventional. And I'm not knocking conventional people out there, but people are sometimes just want to see a normal person, excluding Polly, because that's not normal when she's Maya.
Just when she's,
yeah, actually. In fact, I think Polly needs hypnotherapy, because every time I go away with her, it's where's my keys? Where's my phone? Where's my e-cigarette? Where's this? Where's that? So she needs hypnotherapy to, one, remove her bag, either buy a bigger bag or put less in it.
No, I think actually I probably need an ADHD diagnosis.
Yeah, because it is, sometimes you just sit there going like this. And the other day, I haven't shown anyone, but the other day she was all like everything on the floor, and I was just laughing, and I took a photograph. She went, "What are you doing?" I went, "I'm not going to show anyone, but it fascinates me to show back to her, look, this is what you're like."
I just I empty a handbag and just like let
It was
it
all
all
over the
roll,
floor.
and then I'm like, oh, there it is.
But yeah, so on that, is there anything you'd like to add, Sarah?
No, I don't think so. I think if anybody's got any questions, obviously they're very welcome to message me.
Yeah. And do you work from home?
Yes.
So
yes, I'm very lucky. I've got this space at home which suits me down to the ground, because I don't have to hire a room for an hour, because I often run over. It's nice to be able to talk to people. It's all part of it. So yes, I just work from home now, which is lovely. It gives me a lot more flexibility.
And that's nice to know, because I always run over with some of my more personal challenging sessions, and I don't care if I run over, I run over. They obviously need it. And I think, like you said, the salon days or hiring a room can be quite stressful when you know you've got that time frame. And also,
just quickly, do you work also online doing hypnotherapy or past life regression? Are they both, as you would say, as effective?
I think working in person is always nicer. One of the things the COVID time taught me was that you can work remotely. I'd never thought I would offer hypnotherapy, especially to new clients, remotely, but during the COVID time, I reduced my prices and did loads of sessions with lots of different things. Saw a lot of the inside of people's bedrooms working remotely over that time. So yes, if somebody isn't local to me, we can work with any of the therapies.
I was just thinking, if anybody's watching this that lives in another country or in another area of the UK, it'd be really nice for you to still, if they are attracted to you and drawn to you for that service, that they could maybe get hold of you. Guys at home, we will get
details up.
The details and put it on the chat, on the comments. So please do keep an eye out for that as well, because then you can inquire on the lovely services of Sarah Dupont. And if you fancy a spirit release session, which is ridding you of lots of different things that could be coming up in your life, then obviously talk to myself or Jane, because we would be very glad to explain the process and how we work.
And I think that's the brilliance of one good thing of COVID. We learned to do a lot online. I did healing for the first time online during COVID, because I thought, well, I can't work, because I was mainly holistic and needed to be hands-on. And I learned to do readings, and that was only because obviously I went on to the SPTV show and learned that I could do it. It's good. And anyone that's watching out there, it's safe. If anything we do online, if we're doing it online, we know it's safe. We can do it, because I know that's a question a lot of people ask. Oh, it's safer in person. We do our spirit release. We don't go near the person. We don't go in their house. We do it. We don't even sit together. We're in separate rooms. We're like we are now in our own private houses. So occasionally we'll sit in the same one. Safe, and it shows that it's all about energy, and it's the energy that and the thought and the intention we're putting out there. So I think on that note, with that lovely thought and intention, everyone can go up and enjoy their Saturday evening now.
I'm going to have some gluten-free chicken nuggets.
Well, exciting.
How nice.
I'm not.
Because my lovely Spanish chef, my resident Spanish chef, has gone to Spain.
So she's got to cook her
But
own
yes,
dinner.
I'm going to be cooking lots of chicken nuggets and having some dippy sauce with them.
Thank you, Sarah. We will put all your details out. This show, I think, has gone out on a reel on Facebook. So once I can edit it, I'll send it to you. It will go out 11 o'clock on Sunday on YouTube, because that's our actual YouTube podcast channel. So it will go out there tomorrow, because I just remembered it's Saturday. We're a little bit behind this week, aren't we?
And please, everyone at home, please subscribe. It does help with the algorithms. It helps us get seen and out there. It will cost you nothing.
Yeah, we are getting noticed, but we do need your subscriptions. And we need a few thumbs up, because we want to know that we're being liked. Put a thumb down if you have to, but put something on there. Up is good. And Sarah, we'll put all your details in. And thank you so much for joining us. And we will get you for a talk on our next fair. Fingers crossed our April one goes well, like our last one. So
lovely. Thank you. Thank you both, ladies. It's lovely to see you.
Worries. Very welcome. Absolutely lovely to have you.
So we're going to switch off from here. Sarah, you can stay on. We'll have a chat behind the scenes if you want. And we're going to switch off now. So thank you, everybody. And we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.